right. Hey, how's it going, guys? This is Dr. David here with Dr. Alvin.
Hello.
Yes, Dr. Conley's not with us, or Dr. Travis isn't with us because he's busy with the team. He's been everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Busy guy.
Yeah, busy guy. So he's taking care of those players. So we also haven't put one out in a little bit. So I decided let's just do another one here while we're at it. So while we're here, Alvin, how are you doing? It's been a while.
Doing very well. Yeah, just chugging along.
Chugging along?
Yeah, I got my, we're getting our bathroom remodeled right now. We have a small little project, and so pretty fun. A lot of new things.
Are you doing it yourself?
No, we hired some people to do it, so that'll be fun. So I had to sleep downstairs and all that stuff, and so it's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. How's Gus dealing with that?
Gus is doing good. Gus is my dog.
Yeah.
He's doing well. He's pretty chill anyway. It's just, and he's usually scared of loud noises, but with all the loud noises, he doesn't seem to care. So I think he's fine.
I'd have to say Gus is probably the most important part of this office. So
I got to bring him in one of these days. We were talking about.
We might just have to sit him here. And he just looks at the camera the entire time.
Yeah, he's a very chill dog.
Oh yeah, we love him. You should probably see if we can get him like what's it called? Like the emotional trained dogs.
We were thinking about having him be one of those like hospital service type of dogs where they do like stuff like that that go by. And so one of my friends, she's a nurse, she told me about certifications for dogs doing that. So I was like, you might try doing that.
Yeah, I can see him doing that because he's really chill. He's great. So we love Gus.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a busy week for you on just life.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are patients? Any fun ones? Or just same?
Good.
I hate to call it same old, but you know what I mean.
A lot of people coming back from travel. I know a lot of people have been sick recently, so that's kind of like the common theme I've been seeing. But a lot of people have been traveling, so I've been getting a lot of people coming back for like neck issues, shoulder issues, long plane rides, especially across the world, basically. And so a lot of dealing with that, a lot of kind of maintenance things, and so those are the main things I've been seeing.
Nice. Yeah, my week itself. It's been pretty good. Been busier. I think for me these next couple weeks-ish are always up and down.
Right.
Just holidays. I can't blame anyone for wanting to travel during the holidays. Oh, yeah. So I would go visit family too. So the only hard part on my end is my schedule is always either early or late. So one days are really full, some days are weird. But in terms of patients overall, it's been pretty fun. Interesting cases. Some of them have been like neck related that we were talking about earlier. One of them came in today when we were just spitballing ideas. He was, we'll get back to that one before I give you guys the secret sauce here. But there's been a lot of just like rehab type of injuries. There's one patient right now. He's a firefighter who comes in every week now, but he's had some travel things. So it's been a little bit sporadic, but just about every week we're trying to get him back to his job. Nice. Just preparing him for whatever he needs to do. Basically, he came down with, I think it was low back pain and things like that. But since he had to take some extended time off, we have to prepare him to get back to what he wants to do. So most of his visits now are almost rehab to performance type of things for the metrics of his job, and it's been kind of fun to do that one. The other patient that I was kind of alluding to earlier, this one threw me for a loop a little bit, but helped me think about our topic for today. He had some symptoms of vertigo and dizziness, which he's had before, but we were able to kind of track him down to neck-related things. He is a desk worker of some sort, but he does a lot of great things to stay active, instead of just taking calls behind his desk and behind his computer. But I sat there and thought about it, like, not necessarily the dizziness is a common component of it, but the neck pain behind a computer is a very common issue, especially around this time of the holidays with work and also just being at home and being on your phone or being behind a computer. Right. Did you have any of those types of cases this week? Or?
Yeah, all the time we get a lot of people who just sit at a desk. A lot of our workers who work in tech, or they're just in front of a computer. Maybe they're in finance, and so they're sitting there for long periods of time. So long sustained posture is a tough position, right? We always say like your best posture is your next posture, right? Yep. And so a lot of times if you're just kind of that forward head position for so long, things get tight in the back of the neck, or if you're having to look side to side because you have multiple screens, for example, that can cause issues as well, or having to reach really far. And just these repetitive stress type of injuries can cause a lot of tightness, can cause a lot of things like headaches, things like that. And so pretty common, unfortunately.
100%. Funny enough, like that was actually the decision to raise this table. So if you go back probably like I wanted to say like at least 5 or 6 podcasts ago. If you kind of slightly pay attention, everything's a little lower. Yeah, Doc T was kind of complaining of some like low back like discomfort. I was kind of complaining of some like neck tightness. At least to myself, I didn't really tell Doc T. I said I was just gonna power through. But we decided to actually elevate this because everything was in a weird posture for us just to record this. So yeah, we talked about you kind of mentioned these sustained postures. Would you say that is like the primary driver for some of these neck pain issues, or
I would say so, because most people are like, they're so focused in, like they're honed in, they're in a groove, and they're going for 3-4 hours at a time, nonstop, right? And so they maybe to take a lunch break, and they're not really changing positions, and all of a sudden like, oh, I feel so stiff, and like, oh, it's because I'm old, things like that. I was like, no, you're just in sustained positions for so long, right? Can you set a timer every 20 minutes, at least stand up, for example, in order to mitigate some of these things, right? And so, yes, I do. I think the posture position is always really hard. Even if you were standing really tall for a long period of time, that's also not going to feel very good, right? Can you mix that up? And so, like, changing it up.
Yeah, 100%. I think Doc T describes it best, actually. Like when we got a desk worker that kind of comes in and talks about, like, hey, I don't do a whole lot, but why am I in pain? We always do this in the office, so you can do it with us if you really want to try. You basically flex your bicep. Now hold that for a couple hours. See if you feel comfortable or not. Right? Now, obviously, that's just a fun little joke that we throw in the office. But if you think about it, your posture is a sustained hold of a position of a muscle for a long time. Whether you're just loading the spine itself or whether you're loading your neck, however you want to describe it, you're holding one posture for a very long time. I don't even stay still for 4 minutes, 5 minutes, right? I have trouble doing that. So if you're to hold that for 4 hours, it's going to be very uncomfortable. With that being said, obviously one of the strategies is one to get up, but how do we practically, as people, apply that, at least in strategies that you've given your patients?
The easiest tip is, what was the popular? It's like the Pomodoro clock or whatever, right? And so it's like every 15 or every 20 minutes you do something. So you can even just do it on Google. Set a timer because it's always on your tab if you're using a screen a lot. And just every 15, 20 minutes, let it beep on you or like give you an alarm. And all you need to do is like stand up, right? You could do a little neck stretch, do some neck circles, something really simple. It doesn't have to be a full on, like I got to change into a standing position for another 15 minutes and go back to a sitting position. You just change 5-10 seconds and then go back and doing what you're doing. But every 20 minutes, 30 minutes or so, doing that's the biggest one. And then if you have to be in a sustained position, another good tip is prioritizing where you're looking at, right? So if you have one screen, it's a little bit easier, but let's say you have dual screens, right? Don't just don't have the center of two screens like there where you're having to look left and right all the time. Like, push it over so that the main things that you're seeing are in the center of your face, right? And put everything else over to the side that you have less percentage of your focus on, right? Same thing with things in front of you, right? If you use your phone a lot, then put that closer to you. If you don't use your stapler very often, then put that away from you, right? That's a good way. The same thing with your phone. If you don't use that phone a lot, then put that away from you. Put whatever, like your pens or papers, whatever, your keyboard, whatever next to you as close as possible. I also don't like chairs with armrests.
Ooh, because that's a hot topic for some people.
And so what happens is what I really see is like you'll end up doing this because it's up, or they're not like they're not
too high,
custom for you or whatever. They're not adjusted, And so even if they are adjusted, you tend to because you're resting on it, you tend to want to do this the whole time. So now you're like this, now your head's forward, and so it's now you're in this weird sustained posture. So like those are the, I guess, 2 or 3 big things that I typically see.
Yeah. How do you feel about stand-up desks?
I think they're fine, but it's the same thing. It's like, can you change positions as much as you can, right? And so the stand-up desk is nice, but like, are you using like a cushioned floor? Like, do you like to lean to one side all the time? Because that's probably not the best either, right? And so like, how can you change moves? Like I have a stand-up desk now, and what I was doing was I was lazy. I didn't want to bring it up and down, so I left it up. And then I would sit down, and so I would sit like this, or sit like this, and then my neck started to hurt, and I started having numbness and tingling down my arm. I'm like, oh my gosh, and so and that was being in a sustained posture, and so now I keep it down, but then I have better posture sitting, and then I also stand a lot because of the nature of my job, so I'm pretty fortunate with that. But really, you really have to change postures. Like that's the biggest thing.
That's goal one. Yeah, I'm a very practical type of person when it comes to like these ergonomical issues. Really, it's more like instead of going out and trying to spend all the money on the best chair, on like the best tables and all that stuff, it's really just at the root, just get moving, right?
Right.
So obviously, it doesn't seem very practical because I know some people like to just stay and work because they feel like they're flowing, they feel like they hit something.
Right.
Great, I totally understand that. But also at the end of the day, if you're flowing for 5 hours, you're going to be in pain, right? And I'd rather you be really effective over a month rather than 5 hours.
Right. Another, I just thought of this now is even if you're a tall person, like I guess I'm relatively tall, right?
Yeah,
and so like I would always bring the floor to your feet, meaning put something underneath your feet so your feet are stabilized. So when your feet are stabilized, your back can stabilize. Because even now we're sitting on these stools, you can't see us, but like my feet are on the legs of the stools because my feet aren't all the way to the ground.
That's how high these tables are now.
Yeah, so it's more comfortable for me that way. And so imagine if you're someone who's maybe a little bit shorter and your feet are dangling a lot, like that's going to cause you to arch, that's going to make you in these weird positions. But if you simply put something like a little, even just like stacks of books or like an Amazon box or something, you put your feet on there, all of a sudden your back can will feel a lot better that way.
Yeah, funny enough, I used to use my old college books.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Just like I hate to say I don't really read them anymore, but if I still have them, that's what I'll use them for. But yeah, in terms of like the standing desks and everything like that, yes, standing can be good, but yes, sitting can also be good. It's just how long are you staying in those positions? Right. I like to use a standing desk to go in between positions here and there. So like one day, maybe I'm just standing the entire time because I feel comfortable in the standing position, and then maybe let's say I had a heavy gym session beforehand, I might lower it a couple just to sit. Funny enough, I do my notes out the gym floor a lot of the time just because there's different heights of everything, and I get to walk around and I sometimes get distracted and do other things. So the whole goal is, yes, you are away from your computer for a little bit, not because the computer is inherently bad, but just being in that position is really rough, right? So that's one way to kind of deal with some of these neck pains that kind of come up. In terms of the ergonomical chairs, do you think it's worth the setup, or where would you go with those?
There are some really nice chairs that are really comfy. Yeah. A lot of them don't have a lot of back support, even though they have like a lumbar thing, but they're so kind of flimsy, you have to kind of lock it in. So if you're having to lock it in, then what's the point of the whole like the customization and the whole niceness of the chair? So I honestly, I just prefer a nice like solid chair with a cushion. And as long as my feet are flat, or can reach the ground, or I had to put something underneath my feet, like I'm plenty fine with that. Yeah,
that's right. This is just me as so I don't think I ever mentioned this in another. I might have mentioned this in another podcast, but I play drums occasionally. One of the things, at least for my own comfort, so if you guys want to steal this, you can. Was I always looked at the knee angle when it came to sitting. Right. Funny enough, for drumming, at least for drumming, you don't really want to be at that 90-degree angle for the knee. I'm usually at like a 45 to 60-degree angle at the knee with my feet on the ground. I feel really comfortable there. Part of it is the nature of how to drum. Right. But even in like my normal sitting, I prefer not to be at a 90-degree angle at my knees. I just feel really comfortable there. So that's something to play around at home. Obviously, if your chair isn't variable, I'm not suggesting you put books underneath yourself to go get higher. Right. But if you're buying a chair, I kind of look for that.
Yeah, like my wife has a really fancy chair because she works at home sometimes, and she still has something underneath her feet to put something, and then a lot of times she sits like her legs folded right into onto the thing anyway, so you're not always utilizing like all the qualities of the chair. So it's like, is it really like beneficial? And like I think a regular solid chair I think is fine as long as you have something cushion on your butt and then your feet are stabilized.
100%. Like, so if you take anything away from this, is like it's not necessarily the price or the make or model of the chair. It's one that fits you, and then two, get up and move. That's the biggest one. I know we touched on neck pain, and we mentioned it throughout this entire podcast, but as you've heard from the other ones, neck pain is also not just neck pain sometimes. Sometimes headaches can arise from the neck pain. Do you commonly see that, and what are your at-home things that you like to do for those things?
Then for headaches, right? Trying to figure out what type of headache is it. We like to talk about, right? It's a tension headache, it's a cervicogenic headache, right? Like, where is the source of the headache from, right? Is it a hormonal issue? Is it a dietary issue? Things like that as well. Is it just simply you don't drink enough water, right? And so if you're dehydrated, you're going to have headaches as well. The most common thing I see, like especially like with desk workers, is like the forward head position and then extension, right? And so extension. So like the back of the neck, we call it like the suboccipitals, like the base of the skull in the back. They get really tight, and that can also cause headaches as well. Tension headaches as well, right? And so learning how to get out of that position, or at least like, relieve yourself from that position sometimes, it'll help with that. And we have our trusty little peanut or a little two lacrosse ball things.
I would say this is more aggressive than a foam roller, but
right. Yeah. If you're going to put a lot of body weight on, but for the back of the head, when you put it on there and like laying on top of that, it's like a great spot to really just give yourself some self-love, some self-massage on that area. You can go side to side, chin up, chin down. It's a good kind of self-massage. But a lot of it mainly is you have to get out of the position that's putting you into that shortened base of the skull, tissue, suboccipital muscles. Yeah. Get out of that shortened position.
Yeah. I do sometimes recommend it with this. I do understand that this can be very aggressive. So I have said tennis ball at the same time.
Tennis ball is a little softer too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little softer than this one. This one is like if you've ever played with like a lacrosse ball, it's kind of along the same nature here. But yeah, I like giving that one. I also, honestly, I like giving the like a chin tuck type of variation where you're pushing into the headrest. If you have a headrest, you can always use it here. It just gives you an idea of where to push instead of being here. You're pulling yourself back up. So I actually like giving that one away. That's a free one. You can see that one online.
Right, or cervical retraction. Right, so there's chin tuck and then there's retraction. Right, getting the neck back to center. Right, like I like to do kind of both of those. Right, those are always really good. Yeah, and then also kind of looking down the chain as well, like the thoracic mobility, right? So the mid-back, right? If you're hunched over a ton or you've got a lot of kyphosis where you're really rounded, then that can also affect your head position, right? And so the better your mid-back position is, and the better your head can go back to neutrality and things like that.
Absolutely, yeah. When we talk about the neck, we kind of forget that it's, I like to reference it as almost like a transitional piece of the body, as in, yes, the head itself doesn't move without the neck, but it's in between the head and the mid-back. And if we just look at the neck in itself, we might miss bigger portions of everything else. So when we look at the mid-back, I often feel in chiropractic or even physical therapy, we skim through it because the neck is cooler, low back is cooler. But the mid-back does affect the neck here. At least in my experience so far, I've seen a lot of neck-related issues that are actually more upper thoracic spine issues. When we talk about like rotation or even like overhead sports or throwing, we mentioned like overhead pressing sometimes has caused neck pain. If we don't address the mobility of the shoulder, not the shoulder glenohumeral joint, but the scapulothoracic joint, and then how that affects the thoracic spine in itself, sometimes we will get neck pain, right? In terms of overhead presses and neck pain, do you think it is a green flag, yellow flag, or red flag as to do these exercises, will this make us worse, or it'll make it better? Do you like an overhead press with neck pain or no? I had to fit that one in for Nandi. I really tried.
It's hard for me to always say like this is bad for this. But let's say you have a flare up in the neck pain and you're doing overhead press, and your overhead press is not very good, as in like a lot of upper trap activity where you're utilizing that. Because you got to remember, where is your upper trap attached to, right? It's the back of the neck to the base of the skull. And so that's the same area that's already over tensioned or whatever, over tightened. Then that can cause some increase in pain. What I actually do like, though, that's kind of related is how I activate the upper trap. Well, I'll just get something heavy like a kettlebell, and I'll have them shrug really hard. Right, because that'll teach your brain what max tension is, and then as you let go and stretch it out, then that teaches you what max relaxation or max stretch will feel like. Because sometimes when we're in between, right, you don't even know that you're in between. You're just under tension the whole time, and your brain's just kind of in survival mode. So, but by giving you some data, like, oh, this is what's max tension supposed to feel like, so you shouldn't be here. And if I let it go all the way down and the weight's pulling you down, you're like, oh, this is where my shoulder position can actually be in when it's more of in a relaxed position. And people seem to really like that, and it helps to kind of like, lay off some of the extra tension in the neck.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So if you're talking about like giving someone a shoulder exercise for the neck, then I like that one, like a shoulder shrug. Yeah. Because an overhead press, like for example, it can be very technical at the same time, and like if it's already painful and they're compensating a ton, and you're like side bending at the neck, then you may not get what you want out of it.
Yeah, that's very fair. And I mean, I bring up an overhead press because it's a very common exercise that I see most people do too. But also at the same time, I like what you mentioned. Like, it's not necessarily a bad exercise, right? Nandi was trying to fit that one into this podcast just for that as a podcast. I said, Nandi, mentally,
like whether or not it's
whether we do this or not.
Yeah.
But mentally, when Nandi asked us to do that on the podcast, I'm like, that's gonna be like 5 minutes, dude.
What did he say? He's
like, let's just talk about overhead press and neck pain.
So he didn't give it.
Yeah, it was just that specific. But it does make sense because I wanted to bring this one up because he mentioned it too. He was doing classic Ys. So if you don't know what a Y is, it's basically this motion You can do it on a medicine ball, not a medicine ball, but like a yoga ball.
You can do it on a medicine. Yoga ball.
Yoga ball.
Yeah.
You can do it with a
Swiss
medicine ball, but like
whatever,
it's real,
right.
real short. Or you can do it on a bench or anything like that. Funny enough, if you go to any like PT school or chiro school, that's like one of your basic exercises that they'll show for like neck, mid back, or shoulder pain, right?
Low trap, yeah.
But he ended up hurting his neck doing that.
Oh, doing that, yeah.
So with that being said, is there really a bad exercise for the neck? Not necessarily. I would say you're more underprepared to do that specific motion at that time.
Yeah, the capacity is not there. They're not ready for it. I mean, the why can be pretty technical as well. Because like, technical, what's the position? Where is the position, right? Can they actually feel the... Because it's supposed to be like a low trap exercise, right? But you're going to get some upper trap. You're going to get the mid trap involved and stuff like that. If you don't have shoulder range of motion too, and your shoulder doesn't feel very good, it's not going to be a very fun exercise. So how do you modify that so that they can do it? Or if you're trying to aim for a lower trap exercise, then you may need to modify. Can you do it on their back, right? Supine with a band and supine with a band. And so things like that. And so I think the idea of what you're trying to aim for is fine. It's just the position may not be very good.
So a lot of times it's like it's the right answer, but at the wrong time or with the wrong teaching. So if we're talking about like a bad exercise for the neck, unless you're like really compressing the neck when your neck doesn't
compression
really
probably not the greatest.
Then maybe we stay away from that one, right? At least for now, unless your sport needs it, then we don't necessarily need it right now. But funny things that can kind of bring up neck pain. I've had it while benching. Although not a neck movement by any means, it was how I was tucking my shoulders back. I was trying to get back, but since I was squeezing really hard, I was kind of getting into to this position, right? This position isn't bad. It's just I was holding it for some time under tension, like a lot of tension as well. I got a headache after it.
Ooh,
So it's I almost passed out during that one. But
right. So your body's looking for stability, right? So you know, with the retracted shoulders, right, you're stabilized, and that's typically what happens when you have like even like a hip flexor pain or a low back pain, like with heavy exercise. It's a lack of stability, and your body's gonna try to find stability somewhere. If it's not from your core, it's gonna be from the front of your neck. It's gonna be from your deep hip flexors, things like that, to kind of compensate for that. And so, that sucks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of the sport, right? You live, you learn. I would say do as we say, not as we do, because I'll do some dumb sometimes too, but that's how I know you guys. Cause I'll do it
when you
myself.
lift at that level, especially if you're lifting over 90% of your 1RM, like there's always a risk, right? And so, but you train for that. And if you want to get better, you have to push yourself to that particular limit.
You gotta get close.
Any exercise is always going to be a risk, or any sport, there's always going to be a risk. It's really hard to be completely injury free or like, prepare for any type of injury. So things will happen, but I think the important thing is like the more resilient you are, like the more that you put in the time to prepare your body, then when things do happen, you recover faster. I think that's even more important, or just as important. Yeah,
even when we talk about like exercise and the neck pain, WHO guidelines, they've said like, hey, if you just go out on a general walk, sometimes it could alleviate neck pain. Now, if we're getting down to the root of the problem, it actually might address it, especially if you're sitting behind a desk for 6 hours at a time without, moving or doing anything, then yes, that general exercise will help because you get general blood flow throughout the system, and then you are getting motion throughout the neck too while we go do those things. But when it comes to the exercises at at my levels or anyone above or below, when the neck is put in a position that it's not used to, for a long time under tension and under load, it will be a little funky for you. It's happened for me on bench. The funniest one to me was actually squat, and I thought it was because I was holding the bar on the muscle, but the way that I was trying to secure the bar, I kept doing this.
Oh yeah,
I was looking at the film. Like I said, this isn't a bad thing, but if I'm
trying to stabilize the bar, right? So it comes back to stability again. Like same thing, right? You're just trying to survive, basically. How's your body 100%.
Survive? With what I do, I'm trying to survive a lot of the times.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the nature of the body in general. The body is trying to. It's the ultimate survival thing, right? And tool, right? So like it'll always try to find ways to survive, right? And so same thing with the whole, like you were saying about walking, right? When you're walking, you're in a more of a parasympathetic drive, like a more rest and digest, right? So you're not in survival anymore, but when you're tight and all here, that's survival mode, and right. So exercise, manual therapy, massage, all that stuff is how do we get the body into a more less of a sympathetic drive, less of that fight or flight, and more of that rest and digest kind of calming position.
100%. Now, obviously, at home remedies we kind of talked about like moving around, exercise. The fancy topic that I see my patients usually ask me about is like, hey, could I use a massage gun on my neck?
I do.
Yeah, I do.
You have to be light with it.
Yeah.
Like, it is close to your brain, so it's going to shake quite a bit. It's going to be kind of uncomfortable. You have your, your arteries and veins in front of the neck, so you got to avoid that. I mean, would I recommend someone do that? I mean, probably not. I mean, if you have like I think just with the peanut, I think that's plenty of tension of massage you can do on that. Those neck roller things that kind of do that, with the like you can get at like those like a Brookstone, those type of stores that still exist.
It does.
Is it okay? Yeah, like you can those. I have those. Those work pretty well. But then if you do it too long, you will get very sore. Yeah. So like no more than like 10 minutes at a time. I think 100%.
It's the massage gun won't fix it.
Right. It's very temporary.
Very temporary. I also don't think you need to be spending $500 on a massage gun just for that neck one.
That, yeah.
But at the same time, like if it feels good,
10
minutes might be okay.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Just avoid the front of the neck.
Yeah. But if you're just going to go get the massage gun just for neck pain, so maybe.
I think heat in general is better.
Better.
Aurora, our massage therapist, she made a bunch of these for all of her patients. She gave me one.
She gave me one too.
It's it's a sock full of buckwheat. And you can do rice, but buckwheat's really nice because it smells nice too. And you just put it in a microwave for like a minute, and it just it conforms to your neck really well, and it gives you a really nice, almost like a heated pillow. Yeah. And it lasts for a good like 10 minutes. And I think that's the greatest thing you can do is simply heat.
Yeah, it's super simple that you can do at home. What I also like about that, because she told me this afterwards, is that if you wanted to throw like an essential oil in it,
yeah, you can do that too.
It's scented. So if you want it to smell like lavenders, you can make it smell like lavenders too. But yeah, I'd rather, like you said, stick with the heat and motion rather than just go use that. I mean, the topical stuff, like if you want to use icy hot, very temporary, cool, whatever. Works. I would say if you're gonna do that, watch out for your eyes.
Right.
It's very close. You might scratch your neck and go for your eyes or your nose. Just watch your eyes on that one. I'm not against it. Just understand it's very temporary. Right. Outside of anything that we talked about here, whether it was exercise or posture change or even just, did we ever touch on hydration? We kind of did, kind of not.
A little bit, yeah. If you're having headaches and stuff like that, try to drink more water.
The headaches might be tied to hydration, especially if you've just been locked in behind a computer for some time. But Nandi brought this up last time too, which I actually love, and I'm going to mention it again. He's a big proponent of drinking a lot of water behind the computer, not necessarily out of the hydration thing, but it will force you to get up because you have to go use the restroom.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
that's true.
It's a very practical thing to do. Yeah. So if you take away anything from this, it's one, your neck pain is really tied to not moving, especially if you're behind a desk. Right. And then two, your neck pain could be causing headaches. So is the problem really a headache or is it a neck issue? Right. Probably a neck issue, right? And if we start talking about neck pain in terms of exercise, it might be overall capacity load, might be a little too much, right? Do you feel like we have to touch on anything else? I feel like we kind of ran through.
I mean, other than like basic treatment of like how
let's go over that.
Well, I mean, I guess if like in a provider perspective, what I typically see is like, a lot of people see like, oh, I feel tight, or they don't have enough range of motion. And it's what I commonly see. It's actually not that they're stiff or that the muscle is short in itself. It's more of a painful end range, right? And so passively, like meaning like if you lay on your back and I move it for you, your range of motion is actually a lot more than when you do it yourself. Yeah. And so that typically tells me, yes, there is pain, but there is a strengthening component that's missing, or more specific, like a motor control component that's missing, right? Your brain just simply doesn't know how to do it anymore because of the pain, right? And so if as a provider, or at least for me, what I've seen is if I can restore that passively, like while they're on their back, as much as I can, pain-free, and learn how to strengthen, like do some isometrics, like have them hold positions like at end range, that does help to improve a lot of range of motion relatively fast, right? And then you have them reinforce that with some general stretching and some active range of motion stuff on their own. That's what I've typically seen. I don't see a lot of like, oh, it's a bone issue, like they're just completely stuck. Like every once in a while, yes, like, but for the most part, it's like, man, it's more of a painful end field than it is like a stiff type of end field. Yeah,
that's a very good point. Like we could go down this rabbit hole. Like, is this disc related? Is this a joint related thing? Is it a facet issue? Is this muscular and all that stuff? But like at the end of the day, like if you can't own the end range of motion, sometimes the body will translate that as pain.
100%. Like I had a patient, like you talked about like numbs and tingling, like she had both numbs and tingling in both her hands, and you would think like as a physical therapist, a chiropractor, I think, traction, or there's some sort of disc herniation, pressing on the nerve, blah, blah, blah.
Central nervous.
Yeah, she had gone through all of that stuff for a long time. And then, and so she came to me, she told me this. I'm like, okay, well, I can't do that anymore because that's not helping. And so, but all I did was just, okay, let's see what she's limited in, something really simple. Okay, she can't do that range of motion. Let's restore that much range of motion as much as possible. She can't do this one. Let's restore extension. Let's do all of it and try to get it back. And then a lot of it had resolved on its own. I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So even though they have this diagnosis of like, I have this disc herniation, cervical stenosis, whatever you want to call those big words, a lot of the times if you simply restore some of the basic fundamentals of what the body's supposed to do, like things change pretty well. And we don't have to overcomplicate things. We don't have to always go straight to the injection right away or straight 100%. To some sort of like topical agent right away as well, or some sort of like special hand massage. Like, just range of motion is real important.
Yeah. And range of motion is a big deal, just mainly because like, it's what we do in everyday life, right? Like, how do we own all these ranges? And when we go back to like pain itself, sometimes when we talk about pain, I always want to bring it up anytime we talk about issues, right? Pain doesn't always say that there's a problem at that muscle or at this thing. It just means the body doesn't like one thing, and it's gonna let you know somehow, whether it translates that as stiffness, whether it translates that as tightness, or even just soreness or that numbness and tingling. Where I get concerned is if there's pain and weakness, then we kind of have to talk about some other things, but that's a different podcast at a different time, and I don't want to spend an hour on that part. But all these sensations, it doesn't necessarily mean that something's broken. Right. It's more saying that the body's uncomfortable, and we got to figure something else out here. Right. And notice what I had said about range of motion. I didn't even talk about like we have to change this pain, because she still had the pain at the time, right? But it's like if we can find a way to restore that stuff, then the pain will hopefully go away on its own, and not having to chase the pain. Because a lot of times if we start chasing pain, like, man, you can go these big rabbit holes, and if the change isn't changing right away, then it's like, you're going to feel defeated. The patient feels like they're defeated and nothing's happening. And so, but if we can get some wins through other means, simply like we talk about active range of motion or passive range of motion, then all of a sudden like things will start to change. Yeah, 100%. And then I know it's an easy trap for both of our professions. So easy. Back hurts, slow back, right? And then we have to sit here and actually use our brains a little bit. See if sometimes it is just that. Sometimes it is. Sometimes a lot of times, especially when you talk about these things, it's not. Right. So, you gotta do your due diligence and kind of rule out some of the other stuff first, right? Really, especially like the simple stuff. Like that's where assessment comes into play. So if you're like a younger therapist, I still think I'm a younger therapist, and so like one of the before learning like all these different fancy exercises, different fancy manual therapies, is simply assessment. I tell all like the interns and like the students, like the better your assessments, the much easier it is to give exercises. And so in that way you're not worried about, I have to take this class, I need to learn how to do this particular motion, use these bands, and it's like if you can't assess, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, that's very true. It's like having all the answers but not technically the right answers for the right questions. Right. Yeah. But yeah, that's another topic in itself before we that's another big rabbit hole. And that's really not for our audience. That's more for us. The more I think about that, you guys can hear us talk about that if you want. But I think if we're gonna keep this to you guys, neck pain. A lot of times, like when it's random and it's non-injury related, especially when it comes from like a car accident or anything like that, or just trauma. Yeah. That's a big one too. Like, I mean, not to go too deep into it, but like car accidents. So we get a lot of personal injury things here in car accidents. And a lot of that similarly comes back to like the whole, is it stiff? Is it painful? Is it actually like a tight tissue? And a lot of it, especially with that whiplash type of motion, it's stiff because it's so painful. But then when I move their neck, they actually have pretty good range, right? So do they need to stretch a ton, right? So that, because they already have it passively, so they may need to actually focus more on the strengthening, which you think is counterintuitive. It's like, oh, my neck is so stiff, and strengthening will make it more stiff. I'm like, actually, not really. It'll actually make you feel a little bit looser, or maybe a lot looser, and the pain will be a lot less because your neck will actually feel more stable. Yeah, 100%. And so in that respect, strength is a really big important part of the neck, right? Absolutely. So, my favorite one, especially whenever I take a neck pain patient for like a personal injury or like something along those lines, or it was trauma related, is when they'll talk about their difficulty of like turning their neck to the right in assessments, or turning the neck to the left in assessments, or looking up or whatever. And then all of a sudden, that's not because I forced it into a test. but I'll say like, hey, could you grab that behind you? Not out of like testing anything, and they'll naturally do it without an issue, much farther than they would in a test.
Right.
So the question becomes like, is that an actual structural problem, or is it because the body doesn't want to do that right now because it's scared to do so?
Guarding, right? There's the anticipation because that had been painful before. So like like you said, like the brain is like in this fight or flight mode. So how do you get them to go away from that, right? And that's the challenge. And so
it's not saying that I'm telling you guys you are faking. That's a very real thing that happens. I do it too sometimes. Right. So I take a look at that. And that like we said, is this because your body's scared to go, or is there the actual damage where we should get the image and make sure you don't need anything else. Right.
But also, just because it's in your head, it doesn't mean it's not real.
Yeah, very true, very true. I never wanted to come off that way either. It's like, no, it's a part of your pain. Pain is very complex. I guess we're going down this rabbit hole a little bit. Pain is very, very complex. It's not just the physical or the physiological. There's some emotional. There's some stress related. There's a lot of things that factor into pain.
Right. That's pain. Totally. Multifactorial.
Yeah, multifactorial. I really don't want to spend like 3 hours talking about that right now because that's a whole lecture at college. Totally. But yeah, and if you ever hear the term non-specific low back pain or non-specific neck pain, that's kind of what it's...
Similar thing too, right? A lot of different things that can cause those things.
But yeah, I feel like we've kind of talked about everything that we need to talk about. Do you feel like we need to add anything?
No, that's a lot. I think that was a lot for the neck, and we kind of went deep on some of the things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, like we talk about, I think the desk worker type of thing, going back to that, like positioning is going to be really important. Making sure you move as much as you can. You know, ergonomics, right? Like your seat height, where your monitors are, your positioning. You're not like off to the side, looking to the right. You know, things like that. You know, making sure those are the big important parts. Like the really. You would think are obvious, but like you don't really think about it because you're so focused on like your job, right? And so, but the better we can be in a position, the better our body will feel.
Yeah, I think some ways to kind of tie this home too is like, although we do tend to treat a very active population, desk workers are going to be a part of it. I know a lot of the people that we treat are the weekend warrior types, so you are behind a desk 5 days out of the week, right?
Yeah, some of you can't get away from that. You can't play basketball every single day, all day long.
I mean, if you are cool.
You're a professional, I think that could be amazing.
Yeah, cool. But like even then, it doesn't mean that just because you are a desk worker, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to pay attention as much, right? Right. Funny enough, I use a lot of the same principles that I use with my athletes, with you guys, just because, it's in some ways a quote unquote load management on what you're doing. And then is it enough load or not enough load to what you need to do? And those are a lot of the questions that I ask my athletes too. So I throw that at my regular desk workers.
If you have a body, you're an athlete.
Exactly. Who said that? Was it Phil Knight or was it?
No, it was. I got it from another PT clinic that I follow on podcast.
I think it comes from
so that's where
a big name brand that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say in our podcast name.
But I've always liked that because like it doesn't matter what you do, even if you don't really play sports, your movement, your body is geared to move, made to move, and so those an athletes move, and so we're all the same.
Yeah,
in that
the same way.
respect.
It's just different dosing. That's all.
Yeah, and intensity is different.
Literally all that is. Anyways, especially for the time of the holidays, you're probably going to be watching a bunch of Christmas movies, or you might do a Star Wars thing. I know my friends do.
Do they?
Yeah, the whole. Well, they don't count the new 3, but the original 6 here. They'll sit there and watch it with the Lord of the Rings ones because everyone's off, right? To those friends, get up once in a while during those movies.
Right, exactly.
Move around. That's a basic thing you can do, especially at home when you're watching those Christmas marathon movies. Go do that. Anyways, I feel like we've driven the nail farther than we need to, but hey, I had fun.
That was fun. Always fun talking to Dr. David.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get another 4 of us back on this. I think that's always fun to do that. Talk about neck pain from different perspectives. And
let us know in the comments.
We're one of those guys now.
If any topics that we'd like to talk about, we're very open to try to, expand what people want to hear.
Yeah, and if you have neck pain yourself and you haven't figured it out, just come by. We'll do a free discovery visit. Set you along the right paths, whether it's with Alvin or with me, or I should say Dr. Alvin or with me. We'd be happy to do it. We see this all the time.
Yeah, it's fun. Always fun to talk.
Yeah. Anyways, so I'm Dr. David.
Dr. Alvin.
And this is Shark Talk. We'll see you next time.